Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was really pleased to be able to sneak into the back of the room to catch the latter part of the previous presentation. It is incredibly exciting. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal clan of the Eora people and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who might be present. To Karen Player, the Chair of Virtual Excursions Australia, to VEA members and affiliate and partner organisations, and all of you distinguished guests. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in the launch of Virtual Excursions Australia, or VEA. It's a wonderful initiative that will help transform education in Australia and ensure that its lifelong experience goes far beyond the traditional walls of a classroom. I guess nothing can beat the fun and engagement of a physical excursion, but that's just not possible for everybody, and not all locations are accessible for all students all of the time. We have some fantastic institutions across Australia, many of which are members and affiliates of VEA, and these institutions have been developing their interactive and online capabilities over the last several years, as I'm sure you know. Their capacity to deliver compelling online content has already been demonstrated and continues to grow steadily. These institutions are developing the people, the facilities, the educational programs to deliver the world-class experiences across our country. But as I said, these experiences are not accessible to all. Accessing cultural experiences, going to a museum or art gallery, for example, is much more expensive if you live far away from it, if you live in an isolated area. Research has found that for people in regional centres, the relative cost ranges from 20 to 100% higher than in capital cities. And for those in remote locations, these figures climb to 200 to 500% more expensive. That's because getting to a museum first means getting to a city where they're located. So for many people, they just don't go. That's a shame and a real loss in so many ways, but not least because it limits so many young people's cultural exposure. High-speed broadband, of course, can bring the experience to them, and you've been hearing about that. And today's host, the Sydney Opera House, is demonstrating how it is using high-speed broadband to deliver real-time interactive workshops in performing arts education, vocational learning and professional skills development. Well, this is where the VEA comes in. The challenge is to link students to a broad range of experiences. For that, we need teachers who are aware of the resources, confident in using the technology, and able to build those experiences into their own teaching program. And doing this effectively through the school year also takes resources for the school. And our plan, the government's plan for the National for School Improvement, will make such opportunities available to all students across Australia. Genuinely immersive and interactive experiences also require ubiquitous broadband, both to schools and homes. And these interactive technologies supported by high-speed broadband are the future of learning. They dissolve the barriers and boundaries and bring students and teachers together wherever they are, delivering extraordinary cultural and educational experiences. I'd just like to share with you a couple, and I suspect you're probably familiar with them, bear with me here. One such project that I know both adults and kids love is the CSIRO robot, more accurately known as the Mobile Telepresence for Museums. It's an NBN-enabled pilot project that lets people visit, in a virtual sense, the National Museum of Australia. Remote visitors can independently control their own view of museum exhibits through the robot. At its launch earlier this year, a child in Townsville was looking at Phar Lap's heart with an educator in Canberra, and at the same time talking to a Phar Lap expert who was located in Melbourne. I think it's pretty amazing, and for those with memories of being taught in the formal way as opposed to eagerly discovering, it makes a seismic shift. Another example of the work of is the work of Questacon, our National Science and Technology Centre. Through its video conferencing technologies, Questacon has been able to link schools and remote communities with scientific and educational facilities around the world. Students have been able to meet, to listen to interact with scientists, doctors, astronauts, musicians, politicians, as well as being taken on virtual excursions to scientists on locations in specific fields. For example, recently the Women in Science program hosted a direct connection between an all-girls school in Australia with 2 women scientists on board a scientific research vessel floating in the Gulf of Alaska. Other examples include schools being able to connect to and meet with high-profile people like Charles Bolden, the administrator of NASA, Gautier, Australia's Emmy Award winner, a scientist at the particle generator at CERN in Switzerland, and Professor Elizabeth Blackburn, the Nobel laureate, Dr. Tim Jarvis, the explorer, Dr. Fiona Wood, the Burns researcher, and distinguished Professor Brian Schmidt, another Nobel laureate. So, Questacon has utilised its video conferencing facilities to connect with blind and deaf and special needs audiences as well, with high-speed broadband transforming education in ways that even 5 years ago were beyond the boundaries of what even we were imagining. With the NBN, every single household in Australia, every school, every organisation will have access to these new opportunities. We often talk about the strength of having a lot of bandwidth, but what will be unique about Australia and how we develop these technologies is the ubiquity of that high-speed network. Students will be able to access subject experts anywhere in the country or indeed the world and pursue subjects not available in their own school or their own region. That means where you live will no longer define what you are capable of doing or what you are able to study. Kids won't have to miss out or move away to pursue their dreams. They won't have to leave their home or community necessarily to pursue those dreams. In this way, the NBN levels the playing field and makes the whole country a virtual classroom. It is a critical component of the government of which I'm a part's educational reform agenda. It facilitates access both to quality teachers and to a wide range of subjects and experiences. And already in schools that have the NBN, kids are embracing these new experiences. And there's an energy and a buzz that I think we got a real flavour from the previous presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the 8 goals of the government's National Digital Economy Strategy is that by 2020, all Australian schools will have the connectivity to develop and collaborate on innovative and flexible education services and resources. As part of that strategy, the government is funding a number of trailblazing projects in school education that will help explore and develop the capabilities that you are talking about at this conference. And I'll mention just a couple of examples. The University of New England is using high-speed bandwidth to deliver high-definition video conferencing sessions between students participating in Asian languages and studies in 30 Australian schools and 30 partnering schools in Asian countries for cultural and language exchange education. The Association for Independent Schools of New South Wales will be using high-speed broadband to deliver a range of virtual activities for students. The project will use high-quality video conferencing such as excursions to museums, expert lessons, vocational workshops and a gifted education program. And Monash University, in conjunction with the John Monash Science School and Pearson Australia, is developing virtual classes in emerging sciences such as astrophysics, quantum physics, nanoscience and nanotechnology. That's going to Year 10 students in 4 states. So, the sort of high-definition two-way interactions I've just mentioned require the kind of fast broadband this government is investing in through the NBN. It is about fibre to the premises, and it is about having, obviously, upload speeds that permit the capabilities that we've been viewing and describing this morning. These projects are intensely interactive, and it's never going to be one-way consumption again. The projects involve real-time sensing and remote control of demonstrations and experiments. They involve telepresence, high-definition video conferencing, augmented reality and robotics. And virtual excursions are a great example of how the National Broadband Network can be exploited to bring valuable experiences to students that just couldn't be had through any other means. And in addition, I see the types of experiences enabled by VEA having a broader impact than the immediate educational benefits for the students. It's the kind of experience that gets people thinking again about what comes next, about what the next dimension is. So in concluding, I'd like to congratulate everybody involved, to ARNet, to Sydney Opera House in presenting this conference today, exploring the possibilities of deeply immersive interactive online experiences for students is essential work for the future of education in our vast land, and how we, as a community and as a society, will seek to best prepare our next generation for the future. There's a lot at stake and a lot of difficult issues to resolve to bring the people, the systems and the resources together. It does need to be robust. It does need to stand up, and it does need to give teachers the confidence that the platform is not only here to stay, but it's a platform on which to build and to innovate with. I'd like to say to the sponsors of this program, the VEA, ARNet and Cisco and others, thank you for your investment in your time and effort for getting this off the ground. Often for great new innovations, partnerships are involved. In the way of the world these days, it's through collaboration that we make the most significant progress. And this is a very impressive collaborative effort between so many cultural and educational organisations, providing an incredibly valuable resource. It speaks volumes about the cooperation and common values in a very diverse group of both businesses, of institutions, of organisations, all aimed at enhancing that education experience. So I'm very pleased to be here to launch Virtual Excursions Australia. I wish you all the greatest success in taking it to teachers and schools everywhere, because I believe it will be one of the critically important resources to help share the knowledge and understanding about what the new technology using high bandwidth networks in Australia offers. So thank you very much for having me here today.
Okay, that was an important guest. This is a really important person. Okay, so please welcome to the stage, many of you know her, and the good work that she does tirelessly for this community, from the Australian Museum and the Chair of Virtual Excursions Australia, Karen Player.
He's made me blush. Well, I'm very excited to be here today. I think a lot of us have been on quite a long journey to get virtual excursions to the point that we felt that we could launch it. And thank you very much for being here today and doing that for us. It was a real honour and really shows that Virtual Excursions Australia is an initiative that really will be going somewhere. So I've been the chair of Virtual Excursions Australia for the last 18 months, and it's been an interesting role. I wasn't quite sure when the baton was handed along whether it was something that I was capable of doing or something that all of us had the time to really see to this point. I'd like to go back and thank Vanessa Barrett in 2010, who at the time was the New South Wales National Science Week coordinator, for actually having the idea of getting all of the video conferencing content providers in the same room. And having the foresight to say, it's not just about science, and to get arts organisations and other cultural institutions all together having a conversation. That first meeting, I think we had over 20 content providers. So it really showed there was a lot of people getting into the video conferencing environment, either already running sessions or wanting to get involved. So without that initial beginning, we wouldn't have got to this point at all. And as I said, the journey was an interesting one. Way back then, we sort of informally called ourselves the New South Wales Video Conferencing Working Group. So you can see that that was quite a long title and didn't really explain where we were going and what we were trying to achieve. So towards the end of last year, leading on from the QuestNet conference in Queensland 2012, we decided that we needed to come up with a new name and become a more national focus, because video conferencing in the NBN enables us to connect with schools and teachers and communities across the country, and to collaborate with organisations across the country as well. So New South Wales was a little bit limited. Let's see if I can make buttons work. So what is Virtual Excursions Australia? It's a collaborative network. Collaboration's really been one of those phrases that's been used a lot in the last 2 days, and I think it's the most important aspect of what Virtual Excursions Australia is. It's a collaborative network of content providers that are not just trying to put together sessions and opportunities for schools, but also to help each other. Instead of someone coming into the world of video conferencing, a new content provider, having to make the same mistakes that we've made, we're here as a platform and a place for information to help everyone move along. It was touched on yesterday that really within this digital technology and virtual excursions that we're all sharing across different organisations, across different institutions, from state government funded to private enterprise, that we're actually sharing ideas, and we're looking at ways that we can do everything better as opposed to competing with each other. And I think that's the real strength of Virtual Excursions Australia. Many of us within the group have opened up our doors to show our technology setups or to show people our sessions, so new content providers can get an idea of the kinds of sessions or the kinds of technologies they might need to start in this space as well. So definitely the sharing and collaboration has been a real strength. These are the current members of Virtual Excursions Australia that are linked up to the website. There are many more organisations that I'll get to in a moment that have been involved in events, and also some of the technical supporters that we've had over the years. So we've got Australian Fossil and Mineral Museum, the Australian Museum, Australian Maritime Museum, Bradman Foundation, Physics Education, Literature Live, Manly Environment Centre, the Museum of Human Disease, Opera Australia, Powerhouse Museum, the State Library of New South Wales, Sydney Living Museums, Sydney Olympic Park, Sydney Opera House and Questacon. This number is growing all the time. Since having conversations in the last 2 days, I've had lots of other interest of people wanting to get involved onto the website. There we go, it's the next slide. One of the key components of what we've put together for Virtual Excursions Australia is this website portal. So apart from just being a group of content providers that meets every 6 weeks and shares ideas and shares technical challenges as well as successes, we also have this new website portal that will allow teachers and content providers to get in contact with other people in the community. It's not a booking system. There are wonderful booking systems out there through Electroboard, through the Distance and Rural Technologies Dart Connections. We didn't want to replicate any of these other systems. We just wanted to allow teachers and content providers to find their way through to connect with these groups. I need to flick the page, sorry. What I've got up on the slide here with the website is actually some of the upcoming events. So we promoted this conference. We've got some upcoming festivals where lots of different content providers are joining forces to put together different video conferencing festivals. We can do so much more together as opposed to us all individually putting things up. So connecting with schools is the obvious one. It's something that most of the content providers have been doing for years. If you go back to people like Reef HQ, they've been delivering amazing innovative video conferences from their underwater aquarium since 1998. Other content providers are newer into the world. So connecting with schools is one of those key areas that is its fundamental approach to what we're doing. And that's what we do now. And where we're going and the ability of the NBN and looking at engaging with the digital hubs will allow us to connect with communities. I know a lot of us have been looking into that area and have been trialling and testing to engage with community hubs. This is definitely an area that will be expanding over in the next 12 months, where the digital hubs are looking for content. And of course, people from in this room and through Virtual Excursions Australia are ready to go. And that's the advantage. Everything's at our fingertips. One of our strengths is connecting across organisations. We've run several different events since 2011, the first one being ClickFest, which was a video conferencing festival. Hands up who in the room did a session for ClickFest in 2011. Couple of hands up, just wave them all. So ClickFest was an initiative, again, was originally put forward by the National Science Week committee, and it was an opportunity to run free video conferences for schools. So we had a month in the whole of November where we had 20 different content providers hosting multiple different sessions that were free to schools. And this was an opportunity for schools to dip their toe in the water, to have an experience of video conferencing without any of the costs. Due to the success of that program, we did run it again ourselves in 2012. We started that with an extra day called Dinosaur Day. I'm from the Australian Museum. We do dinosaurs. Everyone loves dinosaurs. And within the content providers, there was quite a lot of other organisations that also love dinosaurs. So we ran a session on the first day. We had 6 different content providers putting up probably 15 different sessions. We probably had across all of those organisations maybe 2,000 students in that one day connecting just on dinosaurs. And the rest of the month of ClickFest had lots of content providers running free or discounted video conferences to schools. So this is an initiative that Virtual Excursions Australia has put forward to help teachers engage with video conferencing. I heard the bell in the background, just in case you thought I wasn't listening. There we go, I was back to front. So some of the upcoming events that we've got for 2013. To follow on from the ITEC conference, we're running professional development sessions this Monday. So any teachers in the room that might be interested, this is for you. We'll be having several members of Virtual Excursions Australia linking up as like a panel discussion for teachers to ask anything they want. What content's for them? How do I turn my computer on? How do I interact or engage more with my students whilst we're doing a video conference? So it's a little bit of an opportunity for the teachers to ask different people from Virtual Excursions Australia any questions that they have about video conferencing. In the 5th to 9th of August, we'll be running SciFest, which is a bit of a prequel to National Science Week Festival. So there's a week of video conferencing to lead into National Science Week. We've got sessions on meeting experts, looking at... I think we've got some slime ones, we've got bug ones, we've got a couple of dinosaur ones to throw in there as well. So that will be growing momentum with as more content providers are putting up their topics. So if anyone wants to be involved in SciFest, all you need to do is put a video conference up with the prefix SciFest and off you go. That's it. It's that easy. Dinosaur Day, of course, because it was so successful last year, will be running as the launch of ClickFest on the 4th of November, and ClickFest will be running again for the whole month of November. So these are some opportunities to either have your schools connect with Virtual Excursions Australia, or if you're a content provider, put some sessions up. Now, if you're a content provider but you don't have any equipment, there's a lot of help that Virtual Excursions Australia can give to you. There are lots of content providers based across the country that can open their doors up and allow you to use their equipment but to deliver your own content. That's a really great opportunity if you're not sure about what you want to do and what you want to deliver. It's a great opportunity to trial, and that's another reason why ClickFest has been so successful, that we use it as a bit of a trial opportunity. You test things out, see what might work. If they're free, you can do a lot of evaluation with the teachers as well about whether it's a topic that you'd like to continue with. I'm just going to go back to this one. So please view the website, like the Facebook page, follow the Twitter feed. Virtual Excursions Australia is all about getting teachers and content providers in contact. If you're not sure who your closest museum that might be doing video conferencing, people from Virtual Excursions Australia can point you in the right direction. Thank you.